Hello and welcome to another interesting episode of the Reflection series, where we share stories that recharge and rejuvenate us. And like every time, we have a wonderful speaker with us today, Dan Haworth. Welcome, Dan. Dan has been teaching people about the practical benefits of using meditation in their daily life for the last 19 years. Born and brought up in New Zealand, Dan has a LLB, BA honors, and BCom degree, and has practiced as an Australian lawyer from 2007. He worked for 7 years in one of the largest community legal centers in Australia. He now volunteers full-time at the Brahma Kumaris National Headquarters in Sydney and is part of the management team as well. He is also the secretary for the Brahma Kumaris in Australia. And the story that Dan is going to share today is titled Introspection. And as Dan says, to stop, sit, and look inside on a regular basis is like starting a whole new book about my life. A book where I start to observe the patterns and have so many realizations about my identity. So a very warm welcome, Dan. And we are looking forward to listen to what introspection brought about and eager to know the book. So it's over to you and welcome once again.
Thank you so much, Lata, for the warm introduction. It's nice to join you today. So, yeah, this topic is something I love a lot. And I really feel this virtue or quality of introspection is something we cultivate through our personal meditation practice. And the story I wanted to share is a very simple story. Actually, it was around maybe 2014, 2015. And I went to the local supermarket. At that time, I was living in Melbourne. And so I went to the local Woolies there. And as I walked in, these days there's a lot of CCTV and different big screens where you can see, whatever is happening on those screens is publicly presented. And I could see that there was someone walking who was losing their hair on the top of their head. And then as I kept going into the supermarket, I could see that person was moving sort of in the same way and pace that I was moving. And then they're wearing my clothes also. And then I was like, oh, that's me. And I didn't realize that, because people do personal grooming, but if you look in the mirror in the morning, you see your face, right? And I'm not someone who can be bothered to try and angle mirrors to sort of observe what's happening on the top of their head. So I never realized, how much hair was coming out the top of my head until that moment. And then I saw, oh, it's quite a lot. And, it's such a silly thing and a simple thing on a physical level, but it's such a great metaphor or analogy for how we can be spiritually with the journey of introspection. Because I felt like, when I started meditating, that it's as if my whole life I'd just been looking at myself from one angle in the mirror. And meditation opened up access to allow me to see things which I hadn't previously seen before. And so that's the significance or the meaning of that story, is that how we limit the way we see ourselves when we're just looking at ourselves externally. And it's a valid story, the book of my external identity, how I might define myself based on all the different things society's taught me, the things that my family taught me, the things I learned in school. They're all a sense of the way I value things, people, and myself. But when I started meditating, when I started really spending quality time to build a relationship with myself, one of the major things I found was I started to value myself in a very different way. So it's like inside you don't know kind of what you're going to find. And at least for me, one thing I found was a sense of my own values, how I wanted to behave, my own conscience, how I wanted to treat others as well. That wasn't, previously consciously part of my life, or it was sort of like something that had, peripheral existence, just sort of an outlier. And the meditation really brought it into focus. And I started looking at myself from a whole new perspective that, it had always existed, but my attention wasn't there. And actually, I probably would have even thought, if you had asked me, prior to meditation, I would have thought that it didn't exist, because I had never made it part of my reality and part of my journey. It was just that bald spot hidden away in my life. And many people have this I feel spiritual bald spot, where they may feel that that inner world doesn't exist, or they've closed it off, and that's fine, but it's a reality that has been created. It's not an ultimate or a absolute reality. It's one which is just based on what we've what do you call a constructed reality, because just because I don't look doesn't mean something's not there. And when I started to look inside, one of the things which surprised me and has continued to please me is I found a new way to start to value myself. Because previously, I feel my self-respect really suffered a lot, because the way our community values are based, it's a lot around meeting societal expectations, meeting expectations in relationships. And I had become someone who felt good about myself based on pleasing others. And that common expression of being a people pleaser. And it's not something that's easy to come out of. And I would say I'm still on a journey of trying to come out from that. And of course, it's a tricky thing, people pleasing, because actually I feel it's good to give happiness and make people happy. So it's really such a aspect of honesty and authenticity. On what basis am I doing that, giving happiness, making other people happy? Because is it coming completely from my heart, or is it because I'm coming from a space where I want validation and approval? My own self-respect is quite low, and so by pleasing people, it sort of covers up the bald spot of my own lack of self-worth. And that was my scenario, is that at least if I make other people happy, then I feel my life is sort of going to be happy and work. And one thing that has happened in my journey as I got more into meditation and introspection and started asking these questions of myself, and feeling that I'm able to find a way in which I value myself without being so dependent on people's approval, was when I started to introduce also the idea of wanting people's feedback, because it's so helpful if people give feedback to us about how we're going in from their perspective. And so I remember another story when I moved from Melbourne to Sydney. I had lived at one of the Brahma Kumaris retreat centers in Melbourne for 10 years in total. So the people there knew me really well and had a fair idea of my strengths and weaknesses over that time. So actually, I remember when I was saying goodbye and leaving, maybe about 20 people who I'm close with, I asked them if they could do me one favor, and I asked if they could write down one thing that they feel I should stop doing when I move to Sydney. and one thing that they feel I must keep doing. So simple feedback. And I thought it'd be such a great learning opportunity. And I know that probably just 5 years before that, I would not have been comfortable to even ask, especially because, it's a larger group of people and people know me in different ways, and maybe not everyone loves or respects in the way that I would like. And so it was a different exercise for me to do, but it was so helpful. And I still remember some of the things which people wrote, and I still kind of, in a sense, check myself against those, because I really wanted to take on board that feedback and ensure I had, do my best to implement it. So I remember, one feedback was that I don't cook a particular dish, so that was fairly easy. And anyway, that I think was more light-hearted feedback. But also, someone said that, it's good if I don't joke so much, and when some issues can be more serious, because I'll usually try and make light of things. But I thought that was a very good comment and feedback. And, underneath that, I think, is also the issue of, just basically reading my audience better, being more perceptive to how other people are feeling. And that's very much a work in progress still. But it was good that someone sort of drew my attention to the fact that, hey, sometimes you're missing it. You're not on the mark. And, what you might be trying to achieve, you're not achieving. And so that was very useful. And another thing that someone said to me was, this sort of voluntary organization doesn't need great administrators, it needs great yogis. And, the meaning of this is like, don't get caught up too much in doing and work and the volunteer work, but really remain true to one's passion, which is the meditation practice, and being a student of my own meditation practice. And this is very much a touchstone that I've taken to heart and check myself against, because generally in life, at least according to my nature, it's very easy to get caught up in my tasks and my activities, and then that can sometimes reduce the time that I'm spending in my relationship with myself and in my connection with God. And but ultimately I'm not here just to be doing. I want to actually continue learning internally, go deeper inside, and continue to build those realizations and insights around my identity. When those realizations come, it's so rejuvenating. It's so beneficial personally, because it's like I get insights that allow me to make further changes about myself. And so this path of introspection, I feel it's like I wouldn't have had the self-respect or self-esteem to even ask those questions, or to then how to take on that feedback in the good heart that it was given to me. And so I feel like feedback continues to be a huge part of my journey, trying to make sure I'm attuned to it, receive it in good heart, even if it's not given in good heart, and take the positive learnings from it. Because how many bald spots do I have spiritually? There's a lot of capacity for me to misread a situation, to think I was perceiving things in a certain way, but it has to agree with community, right? Other people also have to read it in a certain way. And so it's just been so helpful to have these as tools to move forward. So these were my couple of stories, Alata. And did you have any thoughts or elaborations to share about that?
Yeah, wonderful. I was enjoying listening to what you are sharing, and I could kind of get the thing that you mentioned, that when you looked into the mirror, the realization that it's not someone else but myself, like yourself. So it's like there are so many things that we don't see, and you were mentioning the bald spot. Another word, a similar word that came to mind is a blind spot that we say, like when we drive, there are things that we can't see. And so the driver has to be really careful and not so that, it doesn't cause an accident. So that was something that I got reminded of. So,
Yeah.
So do you think like after you had that realization, and when we kind of know that we have to be more careful, there might be things that we need to change. Do you have any tools now that help you to kind of dig out more such blind spots we may have, or, things that we need to work on? How has it been?
Yeah. I mean, I think my main tool is other people's feedback. I mean, sometimes there might be insights in meditation about things that I need to change, but even within that, I think it's usually, for me, connected to other people. Sometimes it can just be the way someone's facial expression changes. Sometimes I might directly ask people, like if they were present for something, I was like, oh, how did you see that unfold? If it's not quite, if I feel like I'm missing something, because it's like, I'm only seeing through my eyes, and but also through my personality and through my psychology. And so even I might think I've got a read on a situation, but I always have to remember that actually other people can see it completely differently. And there could be something in me which is skewing my perception. And if I'm open to that, the only way I'm going to find out if my perception is skewed of something is from someone else, right? Otherwise, we naturally tend to think that the world is as I see it, like why wouldn't it be like that? And so digging out blind spots happens in that way. I think sometimes with meditation as well, the sort of the progressive practice, I think, can also, in a sense, draw weakness out or defects out. So sometimes things which I'm working on, I usually will know about those ones though, right? But they become more prominent or highlighted in my personality for a period of time, because I'm actually trying to sort of extract or change that. And then it's just checking and changing, checking and changing that. Oh, oops, did that again. Shouldn't do that, and try and change it. Sometimes trying to change my language, I stop myself mid-sentence and then reword it, because sometimes people have told me that my language is too harsh. So it's like, okay, there must be a better way of saying that. Sometimes it's not sending an email. So it's like, okay, don't send that, because I know it's not going to be good to send it. But write it and then rewrite it tomorrow. And then, the rewrite is like, oh, that's quite a different email. Actually, I haven't done this, but I should probably keep both and read them side by side, right? Just to see how much it's changed. But yeah.
It's very interesting. And I'm sure you might have had some experiences where we do receive a feedback, or, through whatever way we realize, but sometimes it's hard to accept it. So sometimes we may consider, okay, I think this is right, but sometimes it feels not right at all, but the other person's saying it. So at that instance, like, how do you gradually change it from, no, I don't think this is right, to, okay, let me consider there may be some truth in it? So how do you make that transformation?
I mean, I think just as I've got my own filters that I see things through, so other people can also have their own filters. So it could be that someone else is giving a feedback, but it is actually also skewed around their perception. And then all I think we can do really is gather a couple more feedbacks. I think we tend to know some friendships, people are too loyal to us. And so when that happens, their feedback can be, pleasing, but it's not really honest, like, whereas some people just have that nature that they'll really give it straight. And so I think that, we know who those people are in our lives, hopefully, because it's so essential to have people like that. If we just sort of build relationships with people who only pander to our, neediness or wanting to make us happy, then it will just serve to perpetuate my baldness, and if the bald spot just gets bigger and bigger, it can create more of a problem in my psychology. So it's not that helpful longer term. I think it's great if there's people that really can be, there in our lives that give us honest feedback or can be a sounding board. So yeah, that's my take on that question, is just to get multiple sources of feedback if it doesn't feel right. Because it's also true, like, and I'm definitely guilty of this, is sometimes something kind of bugs us or annoys us for some reason, and then we want to give feedback. So I think then people pick up the kind of the frustration or the annoyance, and then it's hard to sort of take on board the feedback because they feel like, oh, there's something, not right in it. So timing is also so important, right? Like, even if I may be annoyed, but there may also be a need to give feedback. But if I give annoyed feedback, it's not actually going to achieve a result. It won't help that person. And no one likes to kind of get that bit of a dose of vibes.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. That's really helpful. And I'm sure the viewers will take in some, tips like this. And if they have had experiences, or if they may have experiences in the future, they can use it. So thank you, Brother Dan. That's wonderful. And as you mentioned, you've been practicing for such a long time. So would be great if you can lead our viewers into a meditation experience via commentary, if that's okay.
Yeah, no problem. Happy to.
Thank you.
So I start my meditation by anchoring my attention on my own breath. I start to breathe in more and more deeply. And as I breathe in, I imagine that I'm breathing in an energy of peace, an energy of relaxation. In my mind's eye, I can visualize that as if it's a light energy. So in my mind's eye, I picture that I'm inhaling light, and that peaceful light is filling my lungs, going deep inside, making me feel more and more relaxed. My mind is so powerful. Just with my thoughts and my awareness, I can bring deep relaxation to my whole physical body. So sitting in a way which is very comfortable, I'm going to bring my attention down to my toes and my feet. And I create this thought of deep relaxation. as if I can turn all the muscles off, completely relax the feet. I'd bring my attention up to the ankles, the lower legs, and same thing, I let them go. The knees, the upper legs. I turn off the switch to all the muscles. And it's as if the legs feel weightless and light. Bringing my awareness up to the pelvis, the lower back. I just turn all the energy off. Let it relax. Bringing my attention to the area of the stomach. I let it go. I completely relax the stomach. Now I bring my attention down to the tips of my fingers, my hands. I let them go. My wrists, my forearms. Turning off the energy, the upper arms. I let them relax. I bring my attention to the chest and shoulders. I just let the muscles relax. Let the shoulders fall down lower and lower. Turning off all the energy centers in the shoulders. No tension. Then I bring my attention up to the neck, the face, my head. And I let go of all the muscles. And now it's as if my whole body feels completely light, completely weightless and relaxed. Just with the power of my own mind, I've been able to create a state of deep relaxation. In this consciousness, in this state, I create the pure thought of myself as a being of peace. It resonates as true. I am relaxed. I am at peace. My original nature is a being of deep peace. Bring my attention back to the room, music, whatever's surrounding me, and the way I'm sitting. I become aware of those external things. Om Shanti.
Thank you so much, Brother Ben, for that beautiful meditation experience. It was wonderful listening to the story and the experience. So thank you once again.
Thank you.
And also And also thank you to our online viewers. And if you would like to know more about us, please do visit our website, www.brahmakumaris.org.au. You can look up all our programs and courses that are held at your local meditation center. So thank you once again, and we will come back with another interesting episode, another interesting story. Till then, keep meditating, keep introspecting. Om Shanti. Thank you.